I'm Lars. I sing for Kids Like Us. We're from North Florida, Jacksonville and Tallahassee area.
How's the hardcore scene up there?
There's only a couple bands that are I'd consider real hardcore. You know, The Score is a band from South Florida. They do some cool stuff. Off the top of my head, there's a band called Nervous Breakdown that was around for a couple years, and they just recently broke up. And I don't know. There's not a ton of bands circulating Florida right now.
I mean, since the '90s, especially Eulogy Records, there was a huge metalcore uprising, which nobody could ignore or forget.
Yeah.
How come you guys, were able to steer clear of that and take a different path?
I mean, we've only been around for 4 or 5 years, so we've all been around that stuff. Some of us were in more metal type bands and stuff like that, and all of us were fans of we were big fans of like Morning Again and Culture and all the vegan straight edge bands, and like Chokehold from Canada. And so like that stuff all influences us. We don't avoid it by any means, but the more watered down version of the metallic hardcore now, we've weaned ourselves off of that,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
How about Evergreen Terrace?
We're friends with those dudes. Good friends with those guys actually, because they're from Jacksonville. I used to live with the guitar player. He sings in a band called Casey Jones. We've been on tour with those guys before, so we know them. Actually, our first show on this tour, they offered to give us a show like before we met up with the Mongoloids. So we played with them in South Carolina, and I don't know. We like to see those guys every once in a while, but our crowds and their crowds are a good bit different. So it's definitely way different when we play with them, and we don't hardly ever play with them. So it's cool though.
Cool. How does it feel being on Eulogy Records, a label that in the '90s pretty much, as I said, dominated metalcore, and now they're getting more involved in the hardcore bands, the old school type bands?
I think it's cool because I've known John, the guy who owns it, who was in Morning Again, in Culture, and in a lot of very influential bands to me, and I've known him for years. I came at him wanting a friend to put out our record, and he made it possible. And these guys are fucking. You guys got to get out of here.
Yeah, dude's getting serious now. Big time interview. Huh?
You guys got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, dude's getting serious over here.
You guys gonna fuck with me?
Dude, get serious.
Oh my god.
We got a photo op right there.
Anyway, so what was the question again?
You're talking about John from Eulogy. John
Yeah.
Wiley.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, labels change with times. What's popular? What's working? I mean, if you want to keep a hardcore label going, you gotta go with what works, and Eulogy's pretty good at that and picking up on what's popular and what's new in hardcore.
Is there still a demand for Until the End in Florida?
I don't think so.
No?
Not for the most part.
How about Bishop?
I don't know. I've never been to a Bishop show before in my life. I know those guys because I used to roadie for Until the End like every once in a while and go with them, and Pete sings for Bishop, and I've never been to one of their shows ever in my life.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but I don't know.
What's one of the most influential hardcore records to you guys?
For the whole band or for myself?
For yourself to begin with.
Say Chokehold and Stilled. I love Chokehold. I love Left 4 Dead, Haymaker, any of those bands. I love vegan straight edge bands from the '90s. Like all that stuff is what always got me really stoked on hardcore, because it was very political, very straightforward. Everyone knew what they cared about, and it wasn't full of hollow messages. It's to the point.
So how come you're still in the scene if things have become like that?
I mean, things are changing. There's other bands that still give me hope. I had this conversation with a friend I met in New Jersey the other day, and he was in Ensign for a little while, and he came to my town, Tallahassee, in '98, where I'm from, and he said it was the best show he's ever been to his whole life, and that's what kept him going. And it's 10 years later, and he's still hoping to catch that feeling every once in a while, and it's not too often that it does happen. But that's the same way I feel every once in a while you get this glimmer of this is what it is, this is what brought me to it, and that's what I'm always looking for. Just hope.
Cool. Future plans for kids like us from this point onward?
The past 2.5 years, I've been working at 8 to 5 desk job, hating my life, playing shows every once in a while, and doing other little things. A bunch of us have been working full time and going to school, and we just recently decided that we just want to play some more shows, see what we can do, while everybody still feels like they're not too old, which, you know, there's a couple of us that are mid-20s, like, you know, late 20s, but there's also some of us that are like 18 and 19 and just starting college, and for them it's scary to go on tour. Like, some of the guys, it's their first tour ever, and they're freaked out, but they're also having the best time of their life, and I'm like, this is when we take charge and see the world, you know. So we're taking some time off, and we're gonna we just did a split. We just recorded a split with the Mongoloids on Double or Nothing Records, and it'll be up for pre-order I think in June, July, and then it'll be out in August. But other than that, I think we're gonna try to record full length in September, which will probably be out in fall. We have a full US tour coming up in July, starting July 10th, that heads over to the West Coast. We meet up with Sound and Fury, do the West Coast with them, and head back east with the Mongoloids and Bitter End, and just pretty much circle the country. I don't know, we're trying to go overseas some more. We just got back from Puerto Rico. We're in Canada right now. And
how's Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico is awesome, man. Like, the kids there are super nice, super cool and positive. They had a bunch of really awesome local bands. Hardly anything for me to eat there, but it was good.
Is that because you're vegan?
Yeah, I'm vegan.
Cool. Your experience on Night for Death Records?
Rich, how did we meet Rich? I think we met Rich, who owns Night for Death Records, through a friend in Daytona, and he heard our demo, which was pure shit, and for some reason he saw something in us and decided that he would help us out and put out a CD for us. He put out The 80s Are Dead and did it on a CD and did vinyl, and we toured on that for like a year and a half, like full time pretty much, like did the damn thing, and I don't know, I think it did fairly well, especially for a label that didn't have a lot of bands, especially like hardcore bands. They had like the Boils, and they did like I can't even remember. They did some like skinhead bands and oi bands, and then he also did the Down or Nothing Kids Like Us split. Can't remember some of the other stuff that he did, but overall positive. He gave us a chance and helped us out when we needed help, you know.
Lastly, name a few bands that you're really supporting these days to close out.
Trapped Under Ice. We're playing. We played the last 2 shows with them. Played another show with them previously. Our boys the Mongoloids. It seems like almost every tour we're on right now, we end up playing with them, just because, like, I think tours should be fun. On top of, you know, spreading the, you know, message. If, like, a lot of people think we're somewhat of a shallow band talking about skateboarding and whatever, but there's more. That's not all we talk about. It's what stands out, I guess. But, you know, we like to have fun. We tour with a lot of our friends and stuff like that. Know the Score from South Florida. Definitely check them out. Mongoloids. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Cool, man.
That's all we got.
Cool. Hopefully I don't look too